This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Relentless, resilient, and responsive. 3 words to describe this team right now. The Milwaukee Brewers securing their 11th straight victory in Game 1 of their 3-game series over the Mariners in Seattle. This one by a final score of 6-0. So much to talk about after this game. Brandon Woodruff completely dominating the offense for Seattle. The offense waking up in a major way. Seattle had a no-hitter going into the 6th inning. We'll talk about the offense waking up in a big way to back up Brandon Woodruff. And as it stands right now, this very moment, not only do the Milwaukee Brewers have the best record in the National League Central, they have the best record in all of Major League Baseball, and they improved tonight after the victory to an overall record of 60-40 with the 6-0 win. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Locked On Brewers postcast. As always, my name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X at Brandon_Snide. Thank you for making Locked On Brewers part of your day each and every day. Remember, wherever you get podcasts, you can get this very one as well. Apple, Google, Spotify, all those terrific podcast apps. And you can get us all on YouTube as well. Me and my guy Chuck Freeman on The Daily Show. Just go to YouTube, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, get notified when we go live, hit that thumbs up for me, drop a comment, drop a thought. All of your celebrations and opinions and thoughts are always welcomed on the program. We will get to all of them as we have a lot of really good things to discuss in regards to this Milwaukee Brewers. And without further ado, let's dive into your scoring summary tonight. Tonight is scoring summary brought to you by FanDuel and Supply House. A scoreless game into the 6th inning. And when you don't allow the opponent to score and you score a boatload of runs in the 6th inning, without further ado, your turning point in a 6-0 win.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
6th inning for the Brewers proved to be the turning point in this one. A no-hitter was taken into the 6th inning for Seattle in this one, but the Brewers would quickly get on the board. The first hit of the game, of course, belonging to Joey Ortiz. And real quick, before it leaves my brain, Joey Ortiz there in the, was it the 8th inning, 9th inning, 8th inning, I think, with the defensive play at shortstop. Once again, we talked about his brilliance there defensively yesterday. Tonight, just exactly the same. And tonight he would get the first hit in that 6th inning. That would be followed up by a Bryce Terrain double. Then the Brewers got some stuff cooking, right? They guys on 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. William Contreras would hit a sacrifice fly to deep right field. That would get the Brewers on the board. Then Christian Yelich through the second baseman. He would score Bryce Terrain off of that single. And then Jackson Chourio. And how good has Jackson Chourio been, you guys? This is, I mean, we go back to let me back forward to Joey Ortiz. He now has a 7-game hit streak with that single that he had in the 6th inning. Jackson Chourio with the double off the wall to right center, 15-game hit streak now for Jackson Chourio. So that would tack on another few runs, and then Isaac Collins would single to right field. That would score Jackson Chourio. And I'm going to be honest with you, the way that this team is constructed, the way they're built at that moment, I knew I was getting ready to talk about a Milwaukee Brewers win. A 4-0 advantage in the 6th inning. The Brewers would tack on a few more in the 8th. An infield single for Christian Yelich and a wild throw would score William Contreras. And then Jackson Chourio, once again, just brilliant, as always, at the plate, singling to center field. And that would bring home Christian Yelich. That would give the Brewers a total of 6 runs. And you knew at that point in this game, and it didn't look like Seattle had any life to them whatsoever tonight. And it probably doesn't help that you're facing the hottest team in baseball, in the best team in baseball, guys. We can confidently say that tonight. I know yesterday we were kind of waiting for some results. Tonight, we're not waiting for any results. The Milwaukee Brewers, as it stands right now, not only are they the hottest team in baseball, not only do they own the National League Central at this very moment, as the Cubs do lose tonight 12-4 to Kansas City, but they have the best record in Major League Baseball. Guys, 2 months ago, let's just sit back and think about this real quick. Let's look back. Just 2 months ago, we were talking about who the Brewers could sell off if they were going to be sellers. What a remarkable turnaround for this organization, this franchise, this season. This has just been absolutely fantastic. Again, I gave a lot of credit to Matt Arnold, rightfully so. I gave a lot of credit to Pat Murphy, rightfully so. I left out Chris Hook, and I want to backtrack on yesterday's program because what has transpired into, we have all discussed and agreed that the strength of this team is pitching, but it has never wavered all season long for this Brewers team. Tonight, with the player of the game, without further ado, let's get into the honors for the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game in a 6-0 win.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
I mentioned Joey Ortiz, 7-game hit streak. Fantastic, little streak here for Joey Ortiz at the plate. Jackson Chourio, we had talked about the 15-game hit streak. Christian Yelich quietly with a 27-game on-base streak. That continues to go as he got on base a few times this evening as well. A lot of good things offensively for the Brewers. Again, relentless and responsive. They were in a no-hit situation in the 6th inning with 1 out, and they respond with scoring 4 runs in that 6th inning and backing up the guy who's going to get my player of the game, Brandon Woodruff. 6 innings pitched, 62 pitches thrown, guys. I mean, Brandon Woodruff was absolutely fantastic tonight, and he has been fantastic every start that he has made since coming back from that injury. And tonight was just another example of that. 6 innings pitched, 62 pitches thrown. Are you kidding me? And keep in mind too, this isn't no slouch, right? Like Cal Riley on the other side, J-Rod on the other side. Like this is a really good Seattle Mariners team who, by the way, had not only won 5 of their last 6 games before tonight, they just swept the Detroit Tigers, who the Brewers just passed for the best record in Major League Baseball. This is a good Seattle Mariners team who I know a lot of people want Suarez from Arizona, who was also in the running to make some big splashes at the trade deadline and kind of go all in on the AL side of things. They had won 5 out of their last 6, and they just swept the Detroit Tigers just a few days ago. And Brandon Woodruff goes 6 innings, only gives up 2 hits, and strikes out 5 batters en route to getting the victory tonight. His ERA now down to 1.65, his 2nd win of the season. And again, when you throw 6 innings of scoreless baseball, I don't care what team you're playing. Quite frankly, maybe I guess I backtrack on that. Maybe if it's Pittsburgh or Colorado or Chicago White Sox, maybe you have an argument. But 6 innings pitched and 62 total thrown. You got to get the player of the game honors. And this was also something that was brought up in my mentions and in the group chat, was that why would you pull Woody? Why are they not letting him go out there, at least get one more? And I completely understand where that's coming from. But prior to tonight's game, manager Pat Murphy had said he's not going to push Brandon Woodruff and he's not going to push Jacob Mizorowski, who will get the start tomorrow in Seattle as the Brewers will look for number 12 in a row. So he's sticking to that. So you got to give Murph, the credit there. He's sticking to it. He's not letting the emotions of the game or the, the moment get to him. So Brandon Woodruff, though, absolutely fantastic. Such a lift. You talk about the plethora of pitching that this team has, but what Brandon Woodruff brings as a leader in that clubhouse, along with guys like Freddie Peralta and Jose Quintana and Nestor Cortez when he makes his way back, speaks volumes for this team. And it's not a coincidence, guys. It is. I do not think it's a coincidence. Remember a few shows ago, if you go back to that Marlins series, I said, put a pin in this series. That was the series that Brandon Woodruff came back in. And I think he was close to 10 strikeouts. I don't remember what it was exactly, but he looked fantastic. The Brewers won that game. They won that series. And I said, put a pin in this series, because it just felt like something was happening with this team. And I couldn't really explain it. I still really can't explain it, other than that the Brewers have now rattled off 11 in a row after that series. But everything seems to be clicking for this Brewers team, right? And you don't get the lawn ball tonight. And I know that's a big discussion amongst Brewers fans as well. If you're going to compete in October, you got to be able to, hit the ball out of the ballpark. I don't know, 10 runs tonight and scoring 6 runs, and the way that they're able to do it, it almost is a little bit more impressive to me, to be quite honest with you. The way that this team is able to scrap runs across the plate and help their starting pitching. Another fantastic performance out of the bullpen. Aaron Ashby, 2 innings pitch, allows a few hits, but no runs. And then Grant Anderson pulls the plug out of the Mariners and shuts them down in the 9th inning. One inning scoreless ball. So struck out a couple batters. So an absolutely fantastic performance all around for the Milwaukee Brewers. 6-0 over the Mariners. 60-40 on the season. Earlier in May, I said if this team is going to turn it around, it's going to have to be on the road. Like they're going to have to get that road record kind of turned around. They were a handful of games under 500 when I made that statement. Now they are 4 games above 500 on the road. Tonight's victory improves them to 27-23, 20 games over 500. Just 2 months ago, guys, we were 4 games under 500, and we were talking about what this team is going to look like come the trade deadline. And here we are. Most of us, I think I might be kind of split down the middle amongst who wants to be buyers, like real serious buyers, or who wants to stand pat. But it's an ongoing fun discussion. And what's really fun is the Brewers just keep finding ways to win tonight. 6-0, their 11th win in a row. Coming up after this break, your thoughts, your reactions, and of course, your celebrations, all welcomed on the program coming up after this. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports in full swing. Whether you're all about baseball under the lights, the golf on the green, or that high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. If you're already following the action, why not make it a little more thrilling? And with FanDuel, you can get on the game while your friends are getting burned over at Bradford Beach. And if you're new to FanDuel today, tonight, right now is the best time for you to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and they get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, if you bet that first $5 bet and you sign up for FanDuel, you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. Today's program also brought to you by our wonderful partners over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House, whether you're in plumbing or HVAC or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order your products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from the top 400 brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM, supplyhouse.com/TM, and start ordering your plumbing, your HVAC, and all your electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, if you use promo code SH5, you get 5% off of your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. A 6-0 Milwaukee Brewers win over the Mariners in Seattle in game 1 of their 3-game set. Brandon Woodruff tossing 6 scoreless innings, the bullpen shutting him down. Bryce Terrain with a couple of hits. Christian Yelich 2 for 4. Jackson Chourio 2 for 4. Good day at the plate for the Brewers after that 6th inning. After they eventually got a few hits on the board, things turned around. The turning point, as we had mentioned, that 6th inning for the Brewers where they put up 4 runs, and you knew at that moment in the game, the way that Woody was going, how the other thing too with the bullpen is you're able to win this game, not pitching Nick Mears, not pitching Abner Uribe, and once again, not pitching Trevor McGill. So a win all around for the Milwaukee Brewers, 11 in a row. As we begin with Jason, our everydayer, fun times in the 6th, getting it started. Well done, crew. We are hot and rolling. Hottest team in baseball, and right now it doesn't really seem close. The Brewers just climbing in the standings, taking the top spot in Major League Baseball and taking the top spot from the Cubs in the National League Central, who got routed today to open up a series against Kansas City. Put it on the calendar next week. Cubs in Milwaukee. That is going to be must-see TV. Jay Andrews back home on top of the Central, number 1 seed in all of baseball. That is my crew. Absolutely fantastic. Harley, part of our everydayers over on YouTube. We are a Ms. Masterpiece away from free hamburgers. Best team in baseball. Tough one for the Brewers. Yes, you have Jacob Mizorowski tomorrow, Logan Gilbert on the other side for Seattle. So tomorrow's show, we might be starting earlier because that might be a quick game with 2 of those pitchers pitching in that game. A lot of strikeouts I anticipate will be on the menu. And speaking of menu, free burgers, as Steven points out over on YouTube. One more till George Webbs goes bankrupt. Yeah, I can imagine tonight they're starting to sweat a little bit. They're probably prepping and getting ready. And I mean, obviously they're paying attention. It's obviously impossible not to in the city of Milwaukee, but now they're starting to kind of pay really close attention to this Brewers team. And once you hit 10, I think things start to really, kind of tick up as far as the anticipation, but it's definitely going to happen. I think I think the Brewers are going to win tomorrow behind Jacob Mizorowski. And it just seems like right now, this team just can't lose. And I know there's been a couple of close calls. You go back to the Washington series where they had to battle back. They took the Dodgers at American Family Field before the All-Star break into extra innings. So I understand, this hasn't been easy, per se, but yeah, it seems like, okay, if you don't have the offense going, completely, you get your pitching going. If you don't have the pitching going, then your offense kind of bails you out. And we talked about, and Pat Murphy has talked about those stars kind of all aligning. I know I've talked about it on this program at lengths. Tonight was an example of them all lining up. And look what happened. A 6-0 win. You knew in the sixth inning when you got 4 runs across the board, the way that this team pitches and plays defense, you knew it was going to be a wrap. Your offense, slow start, right? You had to get to the sixth inning to get a hit, and you finally broke through and you put up a crooked number, as we have seen during this win streak that they're able to do, without the long ball. Your offense was there. Brandon Woodruff, as we had talked about, he got the player of the game honors, 6 innings pitched, allowing only 2 hits. Your bullpen comes in for the last few innings, or the last 3 innings to be exact. And Aaron Ashby, 2 scoreless innings. Grant Anderson to finish the 9th inning. Everything kind of lined up for the Brewers. And at the same time, you're able to rest some guys that, have been heavy usage, out of the All-Star break. And Trevor McGill in the first 2 games in that Dodger series, and Abner Uribe yesterday as well. So really good outcome for the Brewers, and all those stars are starting to line up, which is crazy to say out loud that those things are starting to line up, and you're 11 games into a win streak right now, which 2 wins away from the franchise record set in 1987, which I believe is how the George Webb Burgers thing came about. I think it was I think that triggered the promotion that they were running in 1987, where the Brewers rattled off 13. They've won a couple of times of 11 games. They did it in 2021 as of lately. 2018, if my memory serves me correctly, they won 12 in a row. It was the last part of the regular season and then the first few games in the postseason. So this one has all the attention, all eyes for baseball right now, until the NFL starts to take over the sports world. But right now, all eyes are on our Milwaukee Brewers as they beat the Mariners 6-0 for their 11th straight win. Every day, or Cody, move over, Rover. The Brewers have taken over. Another fantastic tongue twister from Cody there. What a beautiful win. Absolutely dominating pitching by Woodruff and Joey Gloves with some defense tonight. Best record in sole possession of the NL Central. Joey Ortiz has been fantastic, guys. I know the latest report is the Brewers still want to improve that left side of the infield, and I can guarantee you that Matt Arnold is not going to sit on his hands. He's going to be in those discussions if he's not already. But Caleb Durbin and Joey Ortiz have not been a problem whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, they've been part of the solution over this 11-game win streak for the Brewers, offensively and defensively, especially when you look at what Joey Ortiz has done in these last few games, just to, at the top of mind, what he's done at shortstop for the Brewers. Storm over on YouTube. Let's go Brewers. Blake Perkins is the most underrated Brewers player. Interesting there. Ortiz going to get a lot of apologies in the mail too. We got to start with Matt Arnold. Yeah, you probably got to work your way to Quinn Priester. You got to probably work your way to Joey Ortiz, and you got to work your way over to Caleb Durbin. And I'm guilty on a few of those as well, because I was calling for those 2 guys that they had to step up. They had to start playing better baseball. We knew defensively that Joey Ortiz was fantastic, but you had to get something going offensively, that bottom of the order. And things, when you go back to May and you look at that Brewers 8-game win streak, it was really the bottom of the order for a big chunk of that 8-game win streak that was kind of getting on base, producing, putting pressure on opposing pitching, putting pressure on opposing defenses, and then letting the big bats come up. And Jackson Trio and Christian Yelich went on a tear, and Rhys Hoskins, you go back to May and Philly when he went on a tear in that series. You were able to feast, with the middle of your order, because the bottom of the order was getting on base. And that has kind of been the case as well tonight. Anthony Siegler getting the start at third base. No Caleb Durbin tonight. He was, healthy. No issue there. But Joey Ortiz getting the scoring, getting the offense going in that 6th inning. He was the reason He was on base. Then Bryce Terrain comes up right behind him and gets him to third base with the double. That bottom of the order, if they can be the igniter offensively for this team and just get on base and just get that pressure on the defense with the big guys coming up, it's a scary, scary team. Scary team. Everydayer Nick, just an epic performance, and everyone needs one game away from. Everybody wants free burgers. Everybody wants free burgers. It's absolutely fantastic, and I think the employees, the wonderful employees of George Webb's, are all about it as well. It's been a while since we've been able to celebrate free burgers. Dominic over on YouTube, Blake Perkins is a GOAT too, and Jackson Chourio is the next MVP in the next 2 to 3 years. I don't know if I'll agree with Blake Perkins being the greatest of all time. He is certainly a player I really like and appreciate and respect, but I do think I agree with Jackson Chourio will be in the MVP conversation at least within the next year, and within 2 or 3 years, I would absolutely think that we're having a conversation about Jackson getting some hardware on his mantle. Jaden, part of our everydayers as well. I am in love with this team. They can do something special for sure this year. 2 weeks ago, I came on this program to all of you and I said the Brewers are one bat away from winning the World Series. This is before we got obviously to 11. I think we may have been at 5 or 6, maybe it was 7 going into the All-Star break. I just don't, I've gotten dragged in the live chat. I've gotten dragged on social media. I've gotten dragged on the videos posted over on YouTube. I just don't think the Brewers need what everybody wants. And I understand if you get it, great. It's not going to come cheap, but I just don't, I believe in this team right now. I just do. I mean, Murphy is pulling all of the strings. He has such a pulse on the beat of that clubhouse right now. The bullpen, obviously you would probably like to acquire maybe an arm or two at the trade deadline, but I just don't think I even my comments from a few weeks ago, I think I could go back and be like, you know what? I think right now, if it were to, the trade deadline would come and pass and this Brewers team didn't add anything, I would be okay with it because I feel like this is a team that nobody wants to play. Nobody wants to play this team right now. Jeff Levering on the television broadcast was talking about when they see other teams that they haven't seen in a while, maybe since spring training. And each one of them always talks about that resilient team. Like they are just pesky and annoying and hard to beat and hard to get out. Yes. Would an extra big bat, a big bopper in the middle of the lineup help? Certainly. But you got to weigh the pros and the cons with acquiring a guy like that and what's it going to cost and who knows. And right now, a lot of rumors out there about, multiple teams already having offers on the table for Arizona Suarez. So again, I know that's the one big name that's being thrown out there constantly, but it's been, a conversation for the last month or so amongst Brewers fans. I just don't know if the Brewers really need it at this very moment. Kevin over on YouTube, this team is really something special in all aspects. Don't mess it up. I want the burgers. Best record in the major leagues. Sterling over on YouTube, Miz for the 12th in a row is so poetic. Knock on wood. Yeah. You kind of did the math a little bit in your head when you're coming out of the All-Star break and you're like, okay, 3 at LA, 3 in Seattle. Miz pitched here. He did pitch in the All-Star game. Where could we possibly see him? And then things started to come together. You keep winning. You sweep the Dodgers. You obviously, you go into tonight's game. Miz is getting the start on Tuesday, and you're thinking, man, if they win tonight and you get the phenom, right, the guy that set the record for quickest to an All-Star game selection, 5 games, to get out to the 12th, free burgers game it really is. It absolutely is. Sterling, you're all right. It is poetic. So it will be interesting to see how that game plays out. But again, it's a tough one for the Brewers with Logan Gilbert on the other side of the hill. D-Dubs, Chourio hitting streak, Ortiz hitting streak, Yelich on base streak, team winning streak. Which one goes the longest? That is a fantastic question. The two that I'm leaning right now are, I think the Brewers win tomorrow. I think Jacob Mizorowski will be a big part of that. So if I had to put them in order, D-Dubs, out of respect for such a fantastic question, Brewers win. That's 1. Yelich on base is 2. Chourio hitting streak for me is 3. And then Ortiz hitting streak for me would be 4. If I had to rank them, that's a fantastic question. But I think the Brewers do win. Their back has been against the wall a few times during this win streak, but they are just the most resilient, responsive, relentless team that I think I have seen and covered in quite a few years. That's even more so than last year's team, right? They wire to wire dominated the National League Central and really tested throughout really any part of that year. This year, they were buried. They were left for dead. 4 games under 500. And since that mark in the middle of May, have become the best team in baseball. And they top it off tonight with securing, as it stands right now, still a lot of baseball yet to play in the year, the best record in Major League Baseball and atop the National League Central. And if you're a Cubs fan, and if you follow me on X at Brandon_9, I do a lot of trolling when it comes to Chicago sports. Just a month and a half ago, Marquee Sports out in Chicago and Cubs fans were just gloating, just having the time of their lives. 4 games up for the Brewers. I mean, just think about it if you're a Cubs fan, right? You get Craig Counsell from Milwaukee. Pete Crow Armstrong's turned into an all-star. You lose Justin Steele for the year. You're kind of going, through the emotions early in the season. But then you finally, you have one of the best offenses, if not, I haven't looked at it recently, maybe the best offense still in baseball. And things are just going great, right? The Brewers are up and down and can't get anything consistently going. You got a 4-game lead in the National League Central. You got a 5-game lead in the National Central. And then before you know it, a week out of the All-Star break, you look in your rearview mirror and you don't see the Brewers. And you're like, man, where did this Brewers team go? And you look to your right, don't see anybody. Look to your left, and there are the Brewers neck and neck with you and pulling ahead. And that's what they have been doing over the last few weeks. It's been fantastic. And I know Cubs fans have a lot of reasons to be very upset right now. It seems that they are not enjoying this Milwaukee Brewers 11-game win streak. Gary over on YouTube, what a turnaround from months ago when I said I had little faith in this team. Now, just wow, go Brewers, go. Yeah, you, me, and everybody, Gary. I mean, we were all kind of trying to figure out what this was going to turn into when you're a handful of games under 500. You haven't really been healthy. They're still not technically healthy. You still got guys coming back. Garrett Mitchell, who will not come back. But I mean, that's the crazy part about all of this is this team there's so much potential for this team yet. And we had talked about those things kind of not all lining up. They finally are lining up. They lined up tonight and we all knew it in that 6th inning. That's it. That's ball game. That's how fantastic this is because of this way this team has been constructed. And again, kudos to general manager Matt Arnold. Peter, part of our everydayers over on YouTube. Best team in Major League Baseball. Never expected that after 0-4 start this year. What a performance by Woodruff, and the bats come through again tonight. Need one more for those burgers. Yeah. When the Brewers got, that first game in New York was a close one. They ended up losing. Then they got blown out, and then they got blown out at home against Kansas City. And you're like, and then all the injuries, you're like, holy cow. And then they kind of survived it, right? They fought back a little bit. They kind of climbed out. They were hovering around 500, a game or two above or below here and there. And then the wheels kind of started falling off in May. The Cubs beat you 2 out of 3. Like nothing just seemed, the Quinn Priester trade, everybody was upset about it. And he didn't look good at his first few starts in Milwaukee. But you give these guys, you give Chris Hook some time, you give Matt Arnold some time, you give some guys some time to get back from injury. Brandon Woodruff, you bring up Jacob Mizorowski, you score a few runs, and you're not doing it with the power numbers, right? You're not hitting home runs. Again, no home runs tonight for the Brewers. They have 10 hits and score 6 runs. They're getting it done. And that's the only thing right now that matters as this team wins against Seattle tonight to secure their 11th win in a row. This one by a final score of 6-0 and 20 games over 500, 60 and 40, their 10th shutout win of the year. And Isaiah, with maybe the comment of the night, we are 10-0 in the Andrew Vaughn era. Fantastic. And a lot of it goes to Andrew Vaughn, man, because you remember a big part of that Dodger series was Andrew Vaughn, right? Like the first game against the Dodgers at American Family Field. I know we're going back a little bit here, but the 3-run home run to kind of set the tone in that series. Then he has the game tying single in the bottom of the 9th in that game 3 in that series, and just has had an RBI. And I believe 8 out of the 10 games he has played for the Milwaukee Brewers. It's just absolutely fantastic. They're undefeated in the Andrew Vaughn era. So it's been absolutely fantastic. Let's get a few more of your comments here before we get moving. DMH just came out. Woody was pulled due to cramps after the 6th inning. Murphy wanted to be safe and not risk injury. Great insight there. And he had mentioned he's not trying to push these guys, right? Him and Mizorowski, really at this point in the season, any of them. But I think that, when he mentioned that prior to the game, because Woodruff was getting the start, obviously, tonight, and because Mizorowski was getting the start tomorrow, that he knew it was going to be a question. And again, there's no reason to push either one of these guys. You're 20 games over 500. You're the best team in baseball. You're starting to finally get guys back. Things you're playing into your strengths. You're allowing your starting pitching to settle into games. You're taking advantage early offensively. You're playing phenomenal defense. We saw it tonight with Bryce Terrain and Joey Ortiz on display, and we've seen it throughout the entire year. But now everything is starting to kind of settle in for this team. There's no reason to push anybody. We have the conversation maybe late September, early October, then we can have that conversation. But right now, the Brewers are doing absolutely everything right. Brewers, speaking of doing everything right, getting the 6-0 win over Seattle, their 11th win in a row. They'll go for number 12 tomorrow with Jacob Mizorowski on the mound. My thanks to each and every one of you for always tuning in and making Locked On Brewers part of your day. Remember, wherever you get podcasts, you can get this very program, Apple, Google, Spotify, all those terrific apps. And over on YouTube, just go to the search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Get notified when we go live. We'll go live tomorrow after Jacob Mizorowski takes on Logan Gilbert. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X at Brandon_Snide. And like always, for the 11th time in a row, boy, does it feel good after a win, but win, lose, or draw. And it certainly feels good after 11 straight. It is always go Brewers. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you.